think being open to the new reality
Mm-hmm.
that our supplies need to be in line with demand and not necessarily based on the forecast that we do
Mm-hmm.
periodically. So
Mm-hmm.
this mindset change that we move from a forecast driven supply chain to a truly demand driven supply chain
Mm.
is the first step.
Okay.
People who are able to take that step
Mm-hmm.
can see how the data can be captured and used effectively. But people who are unable to cross that first step find
Mm.
it very difficult to implement demand driven supply chain because the forecast driven supply chain is based on several assumptions.
Right.
Unless we question the assumptions, unless we question the status quo, it's not
Right.
possible to change any of the processes. So mindset change is the first one and the most important one skill that I would feel is
Okay.
important.
So you mentioned forecast versus demand-driven supply chain.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Like,
So forecast driven supply chain is a very conventional supply chain where there
mm-hmm.
is a monthly
Mm-hmm.
demand planning process, and the entire supply plan is also done on a monthly basis. The production plan, procurement plan, it's a very typical S&OP, sales and operations planning process, or
Mm-hmm.
IBP,
Mm-hmm.
integrated business planning process. But the
Mm-hmm.
review, the entire process has
Mm-hmm.
a frequency of a monthly cadence.
Mm-hmm.
Now the monthly cadence means
Mm-hmm.
that you are looking at stale data, a data which is 30-day old, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever changes happen during the month either
Mm-hmm.
go unnoticed or they are
Mm-hmm.
tackled in the next S&OP cycle
Mm-hmm.
or in the form of some very crude review during the month
Mm-hmm.
of what's happening to the demand and how do we tweak the supply. So it's more of tweaking in case of large changes and
Right.
not necessarily replanning the
Right.
supply at a more
Right. Right.
higher
Right.
frequency.
Right. Understood. And what about the demand-driven one? Like,
Yeah. Demand driven starts with the demand sensing.
right.
So the frequency at which we get input data, which I said earlier, in most cases, PCG companies, it's daily,
Right.
and many cases it's online now for
Right.
D2C
Right.
and e-commerce,
Right.
say channel.
Right.
So starting from demand sensing and then converting into supply plan, it's an ongoing process. There are
Right.
companies who are doing the complete cycle and revising their plans daily.
Right.
So that's the demand driven supply chain where we depend less on the monthly forecast
Right.
and more on the ongoing changes in the demand patterns
Right.
in various markets.
Right. Right. So, so basically, in short, you're saying a shorter review cycle or shorter replanning cycle, right? Where you're planning very
Yes,
frequently, as the
correct.
demand is adjusting.